For years, the terrifying springlock suit of William Afton has haunted our nightmares, its origins shrouded in mystery. But what if everything you thought you knew about this creation was wrong? You see, during Secret of the Mimic, you can explore Edwin Murray's house. You know, the house on the hill. Very reminiscent of the house on the hill from FNAF 4. I'll come back to that later though. You see, if you complete the moon.exe ending in full, you'll be able to explore this house and the glitched doors. Now, getting access to these doors is no easy task, and probably one of the hardest things in the game. And usually if it's very hard to unlock/find, it must mean something. And that is the case here. You see, in one of the closets in one of these secret rooms, you can see something. Now at first it's completely dark, but if you brighten up the image here, what does that look like to you? Well, I'll tell you now, that is William Afton's springlock suit. Well, the bottom half of it anyway, the endo. Why would that be in Edwin Murray's house? And is this actually part of William Afton's legendary endoskeleton? You know, the one he gets springlocked inside of? Well, believe me, this theory today is going to blow your mind and you're not going to want to miss a single bit of this. So stay tuned because it's all really important for the lore. Whether you're a seasoned vet or a returning player, this is a must know in my eyes. You see, when I first saw this, it really confused me because we know from several audio logs and messages that Edwin had made much safer springlock suits after being contracted by Afton and Henry himself.
Fiona, the new springlocks are working well, even with the water damage. They should be ready for the diner soon. I'll just make sure to warn Hen about some of the more odd behaviors they might have.
You see, Edwin Murray had clearly introduced a new, safe, mostly immune to water and obviously fall damage, springlock suits. So why would he have this endoskeleton in literally his closet? And this specific one is the SpringTrap endo. You know, the one which William Afton literally gets spring trapped inside of because of water damage. And I know you might be thinking, well, actually, he designed these after this. These came first. But hang on, let's look at the timeline here. Secret of the Mimic takes place in 1979. But we know Fiona Murray dies in 1972. I worked all that out in a previous video by the dates. I mean, it's pretty solid she dies in 1972 because of the birthdays. So if he's referring to Fiona in person, she would have to be alive. So this would be pre-1972. He'd perfected these new designs, right? Either that or he's referring to Fiona as M1, which started to get me thinking, were the original springlock suits, you know, like the ones we find in the closet, were they actually in use at this point in another restaurant? You know, Fredbear's Family Diner. We know Fredbear's Family Diner is up and running, right? Because we see the pizza boxes everywhere. Therefore, it'd be safe to assume that they would have the springlock suits there, you know, of Golden Fredbear and Golden Spring Bonnie. But here's the thing, we don't know whether they were operating springlock suits or just purely mascot costumes, hence why Edwin Murray was contracted to design these springlocks in the first place. But then I thought of something and I remember hearing a special log from Edwin.
Test. Journal entry. I got the change order from Hen last night. None of this makes sense. I'm almost done. Why change it now? It would be so much easier to keep using the springlocks. Just hire some teens to wear the suits like we always do.
That implies that they are using springlock suits somewhere else, because he says, just hire some teens to wear the suits like we always do. But what suits? What springlocks? The old springlocks or the new ones? And how does this relate to the springlock in the closet? And he says, why change it now? Or change from using his designs back to the old ones? You see, looking at Edwin Murray's new version of the springlock suits, they don't seem to be springlock to me. They seem to be more costumes that you can obviously wear, which are mechanized. It doesn't seem to be that they go into some type of animatronic mode. There's no circuitry inside of them, nothing like the original springlocks, you know, where they could be a mascot with a person inside of it and then switch to animatronic mode. These springlocks we see seem to be just sitting mascots which you can wear. But regardless, I think that message means they're moving away from springlock suits. Whether the original versions or the newer versions makes no difference here. They're clearly moving away from springlock suits to be purely animatronic. Hence why then Edwin Murray goes on to make the prototypes in the diner. That's why they're not finished. Whereas the other ones, the springlock V2s, the safe springlocks, they're basically complete. He literally says in the log, I'm almost done. Whereas the animatronics, they are nowhere near complete. I mean, they're missing legs, arms, heads. So I believe the change was from springlock suits to fully animatronic designs. So that tells me they were using the original springlocks. I mean, Fredbear's Family Diner literally had Fredbear and Spring Bonnie. They were springlock suit performers and a robotic entertainer. So then how does this now link up with SpringTrap's bottom endoskeleton being in Edwin Murray's house? We now know because of the logs and the timeline, we know Edwin was working with William and Henry before before Fiona Murray's death in 1972 and after it. The likelihood is he actually helped build the first design, the V1 springlock suits. We know Afton wasn't a roboticist. He wasn't very good at making anything. That was more Henry's side. Afton was the businessman, Henry was the roboticist. But throw Edwin Murray in the picture, pre-Fredbear's Family Diner, because we know Fredbear's Family Diner is operational in 1979. We see it in the game. But what about 1972? Surely they'd be just starting up or just started and enlisted Henry Emily to help with the designs. He potentially helped build the first springlock suits going into Fredbear's Family Diner, and then they commissioned him again to help build the secondary versions, the better versions. That would make sense. That would explain why there's a V1 endo of SpringTrap literally in his closet. He helped design it. But it gets far more interesting than just that. You see, now with the timeline in place, we can confidently say that William and Henry moved away from springlock technology when William was alive. The diner moved into diners, Fredbear's Family Pizza, with the animatronics, as the logs and audio told us earlier on. Therefore, all the old suits got scrapped. Well, apart from half of one in the closet of Edwin Murray's house, which we know becomes William Afton's house. You see, if you've been following my previous theories, you'll know that this house, Edwin Murray's house, has been repossessed by Fazbear Entertainment / William Afton. I mean, William Afton sent him a log, literally saying he now owns all the land the factory's built on and his house as well. So when Edwin Murray mysteriously goes missing, there's a massive mansion on the hill going to no one. William Afton takes over it, does a little bit of remodeling, already has all the tunnels, power, sister location beneath it. Perfect, right? And what else does he now have? One of the old half-finished springlock suits, which now just so happens to be sitting in his house in one of these closets. Who says there's no skeletons in William Afton's closets, huh? You see, looking at that endo in its entirety and on file is called Nightmare Endo, which started to get me thinking about FNAF 4, you know, where we see the Nightmare Endos traipsing around William Afton's house. I thought, could it be that William Afton had found this old endoskeleton in the closet, repurposed it somehow into one of these nightmare animatronics? And I thought, nah, that's a bit far-fetched here, although it would line up with it being in the FNAF 4 house. But in the game files, it was called Nightmare Endo, and then it clicked. The texture they used is called Nightmare Freddy Endo, and the actual Endo model itself is called Old Endo. You see, looking directly at the model, you can clearly tell it's the legs and spine of the SpringTrap Endo from FNAF 3, and it's also used in FNAF AR. Everything is lining up perfectly for this half of the Endo to become into William Afton's possession. But could he have restored this to a fully functioning Spring Bonnie? I mean, he has the bottom half, or granted it's quite old, but he could have tinkered around with it to create his own Springlock, his own Spring Bonnie, the suit which he literally picks up and uses himself. It's his own suit. He's modified it, tinkered with it, hence why it's more unstable than the rest. Well, just as unstable as the rest. And let's think about it logically now. He now owns the house. Beneath the house is his new sister location bunker. He has all kinds of animatronics laying around this house. Well, Springlock suits. He has half the original Spring Bonnie suit lying around. In his bunker, in the timeline, he could then tinker around with this, create his Spring Bonnie, baby, the fun times. I mean, if he's creating the fun times, I'm pretty sure he's able to restore the old Spring Bonnie costume. Hell, it could even filter into the unknown Springlock suit we see in Night 4 of Sister Location, right? The pieces just start falling into place if you want to theorize all day long. I mean, it's literally lining up perfectly, right? So this Easter egg we see in the closet has now become more than just an Easter egg. We can theorize and build it into the lore with all the information this game has given us, and subsequently all the other games. I personally love the idea that this half of the suit becomes William Afton's own demise. He made the suit, which literally trapped himself. I love that idea. And if you do, hit the like button. And don't forget to subscribe for plenty more FNAF content upcoming on the channel. But what do you think? Do you think it's more than just an Easter egg? Or do you think the developers just put it in there for a laugh? But if you're doing that, this is FNAF. I mean, theorists will theorize all day on literally a piece of paper found on the floor. So you can't just randomly put anything anywhere. There's always meaning in the FNAF universe. And speaking of Sister Location earlier, who was the out-of-service animatronic in Sister Location? I mean, we never actually found out. Well, I have that answer, and I recommend watching it after this. Massive thanks to the Fazbear Entertainment members on screen now: Lauren, Rena Fox, Queen Bubbles, Amet Juna Tapia, and our Twisted Fazbear CEOs Penguin Lover 12, Rock Nigel, and Bubsylicious. Thanks for being a valued member of the Fazbear program. I'm Twisted Animatronic. Stay safe out there, superstars.